Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here, Guitarsenal. And I thought that we would make a minor departure from some of the normal content that we've been putting out. You know, we do a lot of gear reviews and things like that, which are fun, certainly are fun. But I thought that I would just take a moment to sort of discuss some of my influences, and I guess you could just call this my top 5 favorite guitarists, okay? Man, this is really a tough one because there's so many great guitar players out there. I mean, guitar is such an expressive instrument, and it's such a individual voice that everybody has. You know, when different players pick up guitars, they really ring different sounds out of these things, and all of them have a unique sort of characteristic. It's almost akin to like a storytelling, you know, that each player, good players, can really put forth on the instrument, and it's so neat. And everybody has their sort of magic touch, and some are better than others, in my opinion. And there's so many great guitarists out there that could easily be on this list, but these are the ones that have probably been the most influential to me as a player, and some of the guitarists that I respect the most. And I'm going to discuss those reasons sort of as we go, and I'm not going to attempt to, you know, play any of their stuff. Although we did get a little Hendrix, if that gives you a bit of a vibe as to the kind of stuff I go for. We'll go kind of, and these are really in no particular order, but I just want to discuss some of my influences and sort of why I really like these guys a lot. And I suppose in no particular order, we're going to talk about Gary Moore. Gary Moore was a very, very special guy and had a very, very unique touch on the guitar. And he really had a way of just making magic come across through the air out of his amps, and just, he was the king of the strings. I mean, Gary Moore was the man. He had the speed, he had the tone, he had the feel, and man, it's just, I think what I take away from Gary's playing is really just the big bends and his ability to really grab those bends and do nuts things with them, and just his tone, man, just great tone. And you know, I'm a Strat and Telly kind of guy, but I really do enjoy the way that Gary Moore could make a Les Paul sing, okay? And just, I mean, just those big bends and this just big, crunchy, crazy sounds. Or really, I guess I need a Les Paul to pay Gary a little homage, but just his playing style and his chord work, good vocal work, good songwriting, good covers. He's just a well-rounded guitarist, could play everything, rock, and then later in life got into blues phase. Gary Moore, the man. If you never heard of Gary Moore, you need to look him up. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He has passed away, sadly, which all the greats, it seems like they leave us, you know, too soon. And Gary Moore wasn't that old, okay? And but unfortunately, you know, he's not with us anymore. But Gary Moore, definitely, in terms of on a top 5 list, you can't have top 5 guitar players without having Gary Moore in there. I feel that Gary is definitely in every top 5, okay? We're going to go to number 4. And guys, remember, these are really in no particular type of order, but I want to discuss for a minute Miles Davis. Now, Miles Davis, not a guitar player, okay? But I'm going to tell you about Robben Ford. And you know, the weird thing is, before I ever knew who Robben Ford was, I knew who Miles Davis was first. And it was weird. I was a weird, quirky young guy. And what I got into in music, I was really into jazz, and I love the whole idea of just the free-flowing nature of jazz and the chord work. Like, I always loved being able to take just big, open, airy chord and just do things with them. You know, just learning chords and learning how to articulate kind of nice, big, airy chords was something that I was always into, and I loved Miles Davis' music, the melodies that he made and everything like that. Well, come to find out, I became a Robben Ford fan a lot later, and then figured out that he had actually played with Miles Davis. And there was something about like the sounds that I heard, and what I love so much about Miles's music, and just the glorious guitar work that, you know, Robben Ford, his work with Miles Davis, he worked with Joni Mitchell, But I'm going to tell you one thing right now, man. Robben Ford is the king of tone. He's got the hands, man. He's got the rig, and I would say pound for pound and dollar for dollar, Robben Ford is probably the most well-rounded guitarist, as far as I'm concerned, alive. Okay, we're talking when a guy picks up a guitar and hits a chord or plays a melody or plays lines on the guitar or noodles or improvises, like you're listening. Like when Robben Ford picks up a guitar, I mean, I've seen Robben Ford live, and man, it's just, it's crazy how, like when he walks in the room and he picks up a guitar, like everybody listens. And there's few people, oh, there's actually a lot of people that can command that presence from people. But the way Robben takes on a room is a very magical thing. And I've only seen Robben Ford once, but I was blown away at his ability, his dynamics. Something that even beyond the lines, beyond the playing, beyond the tone, what Robben had for me was taste. He's a very tasteful guitar player. Everything he plays, it sounds like he wrote it in his head, like microseconds. But like it's just this strange, like pouring water out of a glass when you hear the man play, because he just lets the music and lets everything on the guitar sort of flow through him. And I was just so blown away at his skill. And a good singer, great songwriter, you know, well versed in a wide variety of different musical styles. You know, he really considers himself more of a blues guy. And look, you know, I follow more of Gary Moore's blues work. You know, getting back to Gary Moore, I'm a blues guy, okay? I love blues music. So I've always liked, you know, Robben Ford, because he just has this magic touch. And his chord work, impeccable. His chord comping, wonderful. I've stolen so many chords from Robben Ford, and I've tried to steal, not effectively, but I've stolen a few lines from Robben, you know, a little bit in my playing. But Robben Ford is definitely somebody that needs to be on a top 5 list. So you've got Gary Moore, you've got Robben Ford. If we go down to number 3, and this is not, like I say, in a particular order, but one of my favorite guitarists is Tim Reynolds. A lot of people may not know who Tim Reynolds is. Tim Reynolds is sort of the hidden secret member of the Dave Matthews Band. Well, now he's touring with Dave full time. He is a official member of the Dave Matthews Band. But the early days, and Tim, if you're listening, we're talking member Millers, and you know, back in Virginia, the early days, you know, Tim was a very integral, you know, component for getting Dave to start the Dave Matthews Band. You know, Dave wasn't about it. He was like, man, I don't know, I'm not talented, I can't sing, I can't play. And Tim sort of took Dave under his wing and really, you know, saw potential in Dave, and really is the driving force for the reason that the Dave Matthews Band even exists. Now, getting back to Tim, Tim is a very methodical and just genius level guitar player. And one thing that I love about Tim's playing so much is his mastery of the acoustic guitar. And I'm talking, you know, a lot of his solo stuff. One of my favorite records that he made is called See Into Your Soul. And that particular one, you know, he's got some like drum work he does on the guitar, but also just gorgeous melodies, great chord progressions. And you know, this guy's playing basically, he plays acoustic like a piano player would play a piano. I mean, he's holding down his bass lines, he's got his melodies and his chords, and he writes his tunes in a way that allows him to sort of be his own little one-man band and everything. And Tim is an absolute monster on the electric guitar as well. He is equally at home. If you hear him play acoustic, you would think that all he plays is acoustic. If you hear him play electric guitar, you'll think, man, this guy's never touched an acoustic, like all he does is play electric. Every instrument that Tim Reynolds picks up, it's Tim Reynolds. He makes that instrument when he picks it up. And I've never been more blown away by the skill of a guitar player than I have Tim Reynolds. His tone is great. He's got good chord comping. You know, I've been listening to Tim Reynolds, and I've been following Tim Reynolds for a very, very, very long time. Like, I mean, I love his trio, TR3, which Tim Reynolds 3. It's a trio, and it's all electric stuff, and Tim handles vocal work on a lot of that music as well. And I love TR3, and unfortunately I haven't been able to see Tim Reynolds live other than with the Dave Matthews Band, but I'm going to try to catch a TR3 show, because guys, I'm telling you right now, if you like jazz, fusion, and funk, and bluesy kind of stuff, Tim wears it out with TR3. The albums are great. There's some older albums from TR3 that if you can score them, they're good to have, okay? There's an old album of Tim's called Light Up Ahead, and that's a TR3 album. It's out of print, unfortunately, but it is a killer album, and it's got wonderful guitar work on it. And man, it's just, I could go on about Tim Reynolds, but he's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so we've got Gary Moore, we've got Robin Ford, we've got Tim Reynolds. We're getting like a power group together, right? I think getting on down the line, I can't really talk about top 5 guitar players unless we talk about Rory Gallagher. And again, another Irishman, okay, Gary, Irishman. And so was Rory. And Rory and Gary were both the pride of Ireland. And, you know, I grew up listening to Rory Gallagher's music pretty heavy, as well as, you know, Gary Moore and all these guys mentioned. And there is not a guitar player that could wring the sound out of a Stratocaster that Rory Gallagher could. It's magic, just pure magic. I mean, if you look up a lot of his shows at like the Rockpalast in Germany, look up some of his acoustic stuff too. I mean, Rory was the man. He could play acoustic, he could sing, he could write, he could play electric. And again, he was one of those guys, if you picked up a mandolin, you would think that he was only a mandolin player and that's all he played. Like you would think, man, this guy's a virtuoso mandolin player. Or, hey, this guy, man, like this dude rips up the acoustic blues like it's going out of style. And you would think, man, that's all Rory plays. Again, just like Tim Reynolds, so in his element when he picks up a guitar that Rory just had a magic to his playing. And man, great guitar tone. Just, man, he's like, to me, like the ultimate Strat hero. And that's coming from a guy that, like, I was literally named after Eric Clapton. Like, I come from a musical family. And my parents named me after Eric Clapton, okay? Clapton is not necessarily in this list, although, look, man, Clapton's the man. Like, when you think Stratocaster players, you think Clapton. And he's definitely high on that list, but man, I'm telling you, Rory Gallagher, he was the man. And unfortunately, Rory is also no longer with us. You know, unfortunately, the true greats, they leave us way too soon, but Rory Gallagher, definitely the man. If you've never listened to some of his music, it's great. You should check it out. And he's a killer guitar player. Look up his live work, look up the live shows, look up like early 70s, like Rockpalast and stuff like that, where he does like acoustic stuff in the sets as well as electric. Right there, you'll learn some stuff, trust me. That dude can play, or could play. And, you know, we have to keep the music alive. We have to keep people, his memory and his style of playing and his virtuosity on the instrument. You have to try to, you know, do your best to keep that stuff going. You know what I mean? So Rory is definitely on the list for my top 5. Okay, and we're going to get on to number 1. And again, not in any order, but Jimi Hendrix, man. You know, I have to mention Jimi. I know that there's so many guitarists that throw around, oh, well, Jimi Hendrix, oh, well, that's original. But Jimi Hendrix is literally the reason that I even play guitar. You know, and that's coming from a musical family. I mean, like, my dad always had guitars laying around, and I always played guitars, or at least tinkered around on them and, like, tried to, you know, hit the strings and make noise. I didn't know what I was doing, but there was always a guitar around, and I always had this infatuation with guitar. And not to say that my dad didn't drive me to play, because he did. He taught me things and got me into playing a bit, but I didn't really take the guitar super seriously until I heard Hendrix. And it was like a light bulb clicked in my mind, just the way that Jimi could make a guitar sound. Like, I just wanted to make those sounds. And then plus, you know, I mean, I'm not an entirely, you know, old guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I never got to see like Stevie Ray Vaughan live. I never got to see Roy Buchanan. I never got to see Danny Gatton, all of those guys, you know what I mean? They were all gone way before my time. And, you know, I'm lucky enough, I got to see B.B. King 2 times before, you know, he passed. And B.B. King is absolutely one of my favorite guitarists. Maybe not in the top 5, but B.B. King, I mean, I can't tell you how many people have told me that, you know, I've tried to steal that, you know, that, I love it, just his vibrato technique. But B.B. King, you know, and I got to see, you know, Buddy Guy is still alive, and I've gotten to see Buddy Guy once, and I was blown away. Even in his higher age now, he's the man. Right? And, you know, Robert Cray is still around. So a lot of these folks, you know, when you get into, especially blues guitar, and I guess this video could really be more blues specific, okay? We're kind of in blues territory there. But you really could say that the blues is not dead. There's still a lot of people out there that appreciate blues and roots music, and they're trying to keep the old ways of playing guitar alive. You know, and I'm not saying that these guys can't like shred-o-matic and do all this and that, and that's cool. You know, you want to learn all the shredding, and I mean, look, you want to get into like Paul Gilbert territory, or you know, somebody like that. I mean, Paul Gilbert is the man. I mean, you want to learn how to play fast, listen to some Paul Gilbert and listen to some Sean Lane. Sean Lane will make you want to go home and put your guitar away and never touch it again. Unfortunately, Sean Lane is no longer with us. All the greats, unfortunately, are gone. You know, it's just it's like their time is just short-lived, because it's like the world can't handle them. I don't know. It's strange, but it just seems like the greats are truly gone way before their time. More at the times than not. You know, Hendrix was young when he passed away. There's my top 5. You know, let me know in the comment section below if you agree with me or if you don't agree with me. But I think that's a pretty good case for some really wicked guitar players. You know, maybe some folks here never heard of like Tim Reynolds, or maybe you've never heard of Robben Ford. You know, those are 2 guys that are still out there hitting the beat, doing their thing. They're still playing music. They're still, you know, you can still get out there and see Robben Ford. You can still get out there and see Tim Reynolds. Whether you catch an acoustic show of Tim Reynolds or whether you catch him with TR3, it's totally worth doing. Unfortunately, Gary and Rory are no longer with us. And of course, Hendrix is no longer with us. Although I will say Hendrix is still inside of a lot of us. I mean, there's a lot of people haven't forgotten about Hendrix and his music. And man, I'm telling you, 200 years from now, people will be listening to Jimi Hendrix. It's just, he had such a magic to what he did on the guitar, and such a blues influence that he brought into it. And man, I mean, like, Jimmy's literally the reason I play guitar. Like, there's just fewer people in my mind can touch Jimi. And as a young man, I remember hearing Are You Experienced? I put on that album, listened to it, and, you know, I didn't have CDs. We had records, and my dad had a record player. So I remember putting, you know, Are You Experienced on vinyl. It's actually right over there in that record player right now, I think. It's probably literally in my record player right now. And I remember just the moment that I heard the first notes in that record, I wanted to play guitar. I knew that I wanted to take guitar seriously and try my best to work with it. So anyway, we hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know if this is the type of stuff that you'd like to see. That's been my top 5 favorite guitar players and sort of why. Who's your top 5? Who do you like? What influences you're playing the most? What kind of players influence you? You know, let me know. Sound off down in the comment section. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know, oh, well, you left out so-and-so. Okay, guys. All right, Andre Segovia. All right, gotcha. Check. John Williams. Check. Tommy Emmanuel. Check. Okay, I get it. There's some killer guitar players that are still around. You know, some of them are still around doing their thing. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who can play a dang guitar, Tommy Emmanuel. All right, that dude is insane. Okay, and it's just, this list could be 30 guitar players and still not even come close to scratching the surface of how much talent is really out there. I mean, I personally, you know, and without getting on a tangent, I mean, you look at Robert Cray. Robert Cray could have been on the list. I mean, now granted, even Robert has said in interviews that he's focusing more on chording and vocal work now. He's like really trying to get the whole R&B thing going with some of his tunes. And he's gone on record to say that. And he's kind of let some of the guitar playing take a little bit of a back seat. But Robert Cray is a wonderful guitar player. And if you love blues, you got to check out Robert Cray. Okay. So guys, thank you for watching today's video. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you'll tune in for more. Please let me know what you think. Sound off in the comment section below. We post every Monday and every Friday here on Guitarsenal. Make sure the subscription bell is clicked, and we will see you guys on the flip side. I'm going to make a little bit more racket for Jimi here, and we're going to move on here.